Hello, I am Josh, and this is Alex, and welcome back to the DeBord room. It is the biggest week of the year. Yeah, it's the biggest week of the year between this and the week of the draft. But this is for sure the biggest week of the year for the NFL. I'm joined once again by my buddy Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Great, man. Everything's going good. Got a little bit of snow here in Maryland. Had the
Don't
last two.
brag. We didn't
Had
get
the,
anything.
had the last 2 days off. Got about 10 inches roughly in the last 3 days.
That's bullshit. First off, we got two. They told us Saturday night. They're like, hey, stay off the roads after 8 o'clock. It's going to get terrible. I woke up and there was just slush. And I think the most we got was 2 inches. And then it started raining at like 11:30, so it didn't even amount to anything.
Yeah, we were supposed to go in today at 10, and then we got about another 2.5 inches from like 5 to about 8:30, 10 o'clock. So they just told us, don't bother. We'll go in tomorrow.
Yeah, I keep getting pictures from everybody like, hey, look at all the snow we got. It's like, fuck you guys. Like, we got nothing. Me and Chuck have been dying for snow here in Ohio. No such luck. We haven't had a real winter in like 5 years. So, but anyway, welcome back to the boardroom. Enough about snow. Been a busy week. It's media week, which is kind of weird because normally all the players are surrounded by thousands of media members taking the most random questions. NFL's kind of did it different this year. It's all virtual, and they're only letting specific people talk to people. But one thing I want to get to before we even get to the Super Bowl. Huge trade last week. As far as the player names might not be as big, but as far as what this trade means for the rest of this offseason with, 18 quarterbacks that could be on the move, that's not even counting draft picks. So Detroit trades Matthew Stafford to the Rams for Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick. So, Alex, what do you take away from this trade besides the fact the Rams are never going to have a first-round pick ever again?
Well, listen, they haven't had a first-round pick, I think, since 2017.
Jared Goff was the last time they had a first-round pick, and they traded 2 of them to go up and get him.
That was 17, right, when they drafted him at 16. Okay, so since 17.
One until 2024.
Right. And they're a pretty good team. I mean, they're not lacking. So, I mean, it seems like McVay's of the Bill Belichick culture of first-round draft picks don't really matter. As long as you do your due diligence and you hit in your second and third and even fourth-round picks and sixth-round picks, then your team's going to be stacked and you're going to be fine and you're going to not be paying these guys as much as they would be worth. So, listen, I think it was great for the Rams in the fact that they shedded that albatross of a contract for a guy that you figured out last year was not the guy, right? And for the Lions, you got huge draft capital now. You have 2 future first-round picks, a third-round pick this year. You've got a quarterback who's a stopgap, right? So you could draft Trask or one of these fringe quarterbacks that have, typically hit. I mean, if you think about it, Josh Allen was number 12, right? So maybe Trask goes around the range of when the Lions are going to have the pick, and maybe they take, or maybe they trade up. Maybe they use the, Goff and 2 of the first-round picks and trade up. Maybe they go after Fields or Lawrence. Me personally, I don't think Goff is going to stay in Detroit, but I think it's a win-win for both franchises. Clearly, the Rams have been in the playoffs plenty without first-round picks. They have a pretty loaded roster on defense. They got a lot of offensive weapons. Their offensive line is pretty good. So Stafford gets the chance now to prove what all these Stafford lovers, I like to call them, think he is, which is, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I don't believe so, but I think he's a stat stuffer. So we'll see, because he's going to have more weapons than he's ever had in his career, a better offensive line than he's had in his career, and definitely the best defense he's ever had in his career. So we'll see. I mean, he's got a lot of stats and a lot of records. We'll see what he does. I think it was good for both. I think Stafford is good enough, that much better than Goff to maybe get them over the hump, to maybe be in a Super Bowl again. I don't know if they'll win one, right? But they can at least get to one possibly out of the NFC because Brady can't play for another 10 years. So maybe 2 years, his run will be done. I know he said, I know.
He was like, I can see past 45. It's like, dude, listen, man. I don't want to see a 48-year-old Tom Brady trying out there, man.
I really thought that the Lions won this like wholeheartedly, no doubt, at first bluff of the trade. And then I really thought about it. To get out from under that contract of Goff, who you know is not the guy, was a huge win for the Rams. Yes, they gave up 2 first-round picks. Yes, they're probably going to be a playoff team, so those picks are going to be in the 20s anyway. So are you going to get a franchise guy in the 20s? Possibly, but it's much more hit or miss. I think it's like there was somebody did some research. After pick 18, there are more starters in the NFL in the second round than from 18 to 32.
Yep, you're right.
So, I mean, you got better odds, you got better luck getting in the second round than you do from, 18 to 32. So, listen, I think it's a win-win for both teams. I give a slight edge to the Lions because of the 2 first-round picks, but it's not what I thought it was at first, where I was like, man, the Lions fleeced the Rams. I think it's a good deal for both franchises.
I agree. I'm a big sucker for winner and loser articles. So I wrote one about this trade specifically. Stafford's the big winner to me. He gets a chance to compete. He's been in Detroit where they haven't smelled the playoffs since 2012, and he's never really had a legitimate chance to. Like, he had Calvin Johnson, he retired early. He's had one 1,000-yard rusher, Reggie Bush, in 2013. That blows my mind. And last year, who was his leading rusher? The 50-year-old Adrian Peterson. I mean, Stafford I feel like he needed a change of scenery at the end of his career, which he is at the end. Now, the loser out of all this for me is Jared Goff because he has significantly less weapons. He's in a rebuild team. He's on a team which can move on. After this year, he's a clear cut, $23.9 million. They can cut him outright, save $24 million. He's off to do whatever he wants. So Detroit got some draft capital pretty much to eat 1 year of a bad contract, which, like you said, he can bridge. And he gives Detroit the ability. I'm looking at where they're picking. They pick at 7. So let's say Trevor, Fields, Wilson are all off the board by then, right? They don't have to take a quarterback this year if they don't want to. They don't have to. They can ride with Goff for 1 year and go after it next year. Like you said, they could take a Trask or a Mac Jones later, and that draft capital gives them the ability to move around. The loss for me, which I'll transition to the next question, the biggest losers for me is the teams that need quarterbacks and we're looking to trade for them, specifically the Philadelphia Eagles. If they want to move Carson Wentz now, if I'm the Colts, I'm calling them like, listen, we'll take Carson. We want 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick with him, and we'll give you – I don't know what the Colts even have to give up.
Well, they don't – the one position they could give up where they have the best luxury is running back, but they have Miles Sanders in Philly, so they don't need Marlon Mack or Hines.
What I'm saying is the leverage is gone for teams trying to get rid of the Jared Goff deal. Carson Wentz, why does Philly want to move off of him? His deal's terrible and hasn't even started yet. The Colts would love to have him, I'm sure, but now you're going to get more from the Eagles for you to take him than you would have to give up in order to go get him. It kind of switched everything. Like I know Attard wrote something the other day I read from Sportsbox. He said, well, this doesn't change the Watson deal, and I agree with him. It really doesn't. Deshaun's under contract for 4 years. He's making almost $40 million. He's proven, so his stock, he's going to be worth 3 to 4 first-round picks no matter what happens. I mean, you're going to have to give up a shit ton to Houston.
Unless you do a trade like I talked about, right, where Cleveland comes out of nowhere, offers Baker, OBJ, and a first and a second. That could probably get the deal done.
They
right?
said the trade package they want is 3 first-round picks and 2 young defensive starters, because They want to because J.J. Watt's going to be gone. They're shopping all their linebackers. They're pretty much shopping all the older players because
There's
New England. They were saying New England could offer 3 first rounds, J.C. Jackson, and one of those defensive linemen, either Winovich or Uche, who probably have the most potential on that D line. Because Belichick's at the point where does he really give a shit about 5 years from now? He needs to win within the next 2 years because his coaching career is almost over. I don't think New England will get it. That's just stuff you read. We're at the point in time where everybody's the rumor mill's swirling. All these quarterbacks, there's only so many teams.
But it sounds to me like the Texans are trying to make up for past transgressions, right?
They are.
For trading Tunsil, for Tunsil and Stills and giving up first round pick like idiots, for getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins. That's not other teams' fault. You might get 3 first round picks. You're not getting 2 defensive starters as well.
That's what I think they're trying to ask for so much.
Pure insanity.
I think they're trying to do the whole let's ask for everything. When they tell us no, we can tell Deshaun, listen, nobody wants you. You're stuck. Sorry, we tried to move you. But there's a report out today that Deshaun's willing to sit out and that his team, that the Houston Texans locker room actually have his back in this. They don't blame him for wanting out.
I pray to God he does, but it's never going to happen. Listen, he's too much of a high character guy. Yeah. So at the end, his conscience is going to win out. He's saying the right things. He's doing the right things. He's not coming out in the media and bashing the Texans. He's not,
he's not that kind of guy.
Right. So he's doing the right stuff. But at the end of the day, he's too much of a high character guy. He's either going to play in Houston or they're going to have to lower their expectations.
They're going to have to take the 3 first round picks and maybe a third and eat it. And, based on the market, that's honestly fair. I think this really hurt the market for like the Eagles who want to move off a guy with a huge contract. The price has just been set. The Rams gave up 2 first round picks and a third to get off that contract. So what did Philly have to give a team that wants Carson Wentz?
But can we be realistic here and say that Carson Wentz at his peak is probably twice the quarterback that Goff is?
Oh man.
Because you saw his peak in that playoff run before he got hurt. I would have loved for him not to be hurt, right? And be able to play in that Super Bowl in that playoff run. But, it's coulda, woulda, shoulda. We can't, we'll never be able to know what he could have done. But his peak was he looked like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL at his peak.
Dude, you know what? I give the edge slightly to Wentz, but it's not as big as it is for you. What's funny? I was sitting watching these playoffs this year. I'll be honest with you. I was watching Jared Goff with his broken fucking thumb, and he's struggling to grip the ball. And, dude, they competed, and the dude busted his ass to compete. I respect Jared Goff. Now, do I want him as my quarterback? I mean, technically right now I would because I have Jared Stidham. But realistically, no, I'd prefer somebody better. Is Wentz better? If you're asking me right now, do I want Carson Wentz or Jared Goff? Both shitty contracts, both about the same age, right? One's not much older than the other. I think
Goff's a year older.
Yeah, I think Goff's a little bit older. I would take Wentz, but it's not as big of a gap as what you said. We got David. The Lambs are desperate to make a splash in LA. They invested too heavily in Goff to make this move. The Lions absolutely fleeced the Lambs with banged up Stafford. I wholeheartedly believe the Lions wanted to move on. Yeah, I mean, Stafford asked to be moved, and they obliged within a week, and they got a very good haul for it. John Hunter from the Frozen Road podcast, big Eagles guy. He doesn't want to trade Wentz. I know our boy Bakley doesn't want to trade him either. Benison. Who do you think, or where do you think the Falcons need to strengthen to challenge after a poor season? Well, it's interesting he asked, because Julio and Matt Ryan, it came out today, they are not shopping them anymore. They're going into next year with both of them under contract.
Which is insane.
I don't know. We'll get into the head coaching hire here in a little bit. That needs to work.
I don't understand how you
defense.
I don't understand how you don't move off Julio. He's still got enough value. You could get some good draft pick, defensive players that could help you because Ridley is the heir apparent. He's there.
Yeah,
he's going to be You know, I mean, he's there. Um, you know, and I'm blanking on the tight end, the guy they got from
No,
the
Hurst.
Ravens.
Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, he's a good tight end. There's no way you can tell me
Well, you got
that,
Russell Gage too, who came on late. I mean,
but
they
there's no way you can tell me with the flaws of Lamar Jackson's throwing abilities that Matt Ryan is not a better thrower of the football and cannot scheme. They cannot scheme open Hayden Hurst. Like he had a
they're
good
not
year with
weapons.
Lamar Jackson, so I expected him to flourish down there. That's why they were able to get rid of Hooper. Like they weren't worried about Hooper. Now, I personally think the Browns overpaid Hooper, but that's another episode.
Venison, to answer your question, they need to address the running back. Brian Hill's their only one under contract. That's a problem. They need to add some youth at receiver. No wonder they don't want to let Julio go. The number 3 is Laquan Treadwell.
Right.
So that's a problem. The offensive line's pretty solid. The whole defense.
But you got guys like T.Y. Hilton, Kenny Galladay. I mean, there's a big wide receiver market this year. There's a lot of positions, period, in the NFL that are in transition.
If I'm them, I'm calling Baltimore. Like, I'll give you Julio. We want Malcolm Brown and a 3rd-round pick. That way, you get a young player in return. So you keep some depth and you get a draft pick. Because Malcolm Brown has bitched his way out of Baltimore. You know they're sick of his crying already. I'd give up a young receiver, grab Julio, and like you said, Baltimore can sign one of these T.Y. Hilton kind of guy. Like, remember when they got Anquan Bolden at the end of his career and it worked perfectly? They need a T.Y. Hilton kind of guy like that to put on that team. You get
the guy I think that this trade affected the most is Kenny Galladay. Because I really thought he was going to sign wherever Stafford went.
I did too. I really
because
did.
of their familiarity, and he's been very successful. So that would have helped him a lot, as far as market value, because the guy's been hurt quite a bit. So now I don't know, so let's say T.Y. walks out of Indianapolis, which I think it'd be a fool to. Yeah, but let's say he does, right? Mm-hmm. Is Kenny Galladay? Are they going to take a chance on Kenny Galladay there? I mean, they have two. They got Pascal and Pittman, and they have 2 tight ends. So where's he going to go now that isn't a garbage dump? I mean, maybe he goes to New England. Maybe you guys figure out a quarterback situation, and he goes to New England, and that might be a great fit for him. But I just don't know. Maybe he goes down to Jacksonville to add to their receiving core.
He can't. He didn't go to Ohio State.
I mean, he's not going to San Francisco. I mean, there's just not a lot. Maybe Seattle?
Seattle would be a good fit, but hell, they got deeper at receiver. You got Lockett and Metcalf and
DK, yeah.
Josh.
He's not going to Cleveland. They're full up in Pittsburgh. Oh, Cincinnati. Maybe another weapon for Burrow.
But like Higgins and Boyd and Tate, they got some weapons there too.
The Ravens make sense.
The Ravens make a lot of sense. I think this trade,
true number 1 for Lamar, would be huge.
I think that this trade was a little bit more blown up as far it's big name players, right? But neither guys won a Super Bowl. The one Super Bowl Goff went to. What did you hear leading into pregame? I remember sitting on my couch with my dad, and they were just like, the Patriots aren't scared of Jared Goff. They know if they blitz him, he's going to shit it. He's going to poop his pants, is what they were saying in the locker room. So they're basically new. The dude's a deer in headlights once you put pressure on him, which every quarterback is. But Jared Goff, didn't they average about 30 points a game that year that they went to the Super Bowl? New England beat them 17-3, and Tom Brady didn't play particularly well that game because Michelle ran in both touchdowns and should have got MVP. But whatever. Basically, the reason I bring up Tom Brady is because we're going to talk about him a lot. But we're going to transition into a topic that I didn't want to get into, but it's big in the media right now. Me and Alex debate about it. I really don't know how Alex truly feels about this, but this has been asked a lot the last week and a half since Brady's going to the Super Bowl with a new team. Alex, I'll start with you on this one because I'll obviously have a lot to say about it. So the Patriots dynasty, so we can say 20 years. For at least the last 20 years, give or take, the Patriots have been the most dominant team in the NFL. 8 Super Bowl appearances, 6 wins, and the 2 they lost, they could have easily won. Let's just say Brady left the field with the lead both times.
Yep.
And David Tyree
took miracle throws.
Yep. Mario Manningham didn't drop a pass. David Tyree put glue on his head. I mean, a bunch of crazy shit happened for them
They're
to lose
6 and
those
9. They're 6 and 9.
6-3. The
Yep,
Eagles.
yep.
And it took Nick Foles throwing for 7,000 yards in one game.
And Brady threw for another 5,000 behind him. I mean, it was
the record for most yards in a game, and they lose because it was whoever turned the ball over first, and Brandon Graham had to strip him.
Yep.
So with all this stuff going on right now, I see all the memes. Yeah, they're hilarious, but they're so stupid. Who do you give more credit to for the Patriots dynasty, Bill or Tom?
And it's I had a strong opinion before, but when I really thought and I listened and I looked back on stuff, it's like 51-49 or 50-50, man. I mean, I'm going to give a slight edge to Bill because he puts all the pieces in place, right? But the issue that you're finding is that people don't like Bill. Bill's an a-hole. Tom Brady's the face of a franchise. Every franchise he goes to, he's a nice guy. Like I said before, he says a lot, but not saying anything, right? He never has controversial takes. He never gets on on other people or other teams. He always says they're the greatest. That it's like they're playing the '85 Bears. Like every team that they play, no matter whether they're good or bad, it could be the 1-13 Bengals, and he prepares like it's the Chiefs right now for the Super Bowl. So Brady is just a likable guy, right? Or his brand is likable. Let's put it like that. Because at this point, he's a brand, right?
Yeah.
And I have misgivings about Bill because he never did anything with my Browns, and he ran out in the night, just like when they went to Baltimore and he got fired, which he deserved because he didn't do crap in Cleveland, right? So he remade himself in what we see now, right? He's not the same coach that he was when he was in Cleveland. Obviously, he's much more polished. He has a lot. Maybe he has more control. Maybe that's what he needed.
He does.
Maybe Cleveland didn't. He was a first-time head coach, I believe, in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So maybe he didn't have the freedom that he has. And luckily for you guys, Robert Kraft was smart enough to know that this guy was a mad scientist, evil genius, and gave him that freedom. It's so close because you see what Tom Brady has done in a year in Tampa. They're a different team. They play. They have a Patriots feel to them, right? There's not a lot of clickbait. There's not a lot of media.
Does Belichick's Can you say that Belichick's rubbing off on Tom, that culture that he had in New
100%.
England, rubbed off on Brady, and Brady took that to Tampa with him, and that's part of why it's working.
100% agree. That's why I say it's like 51-49, because at the end of the day, Tom Brady is the most important Patriot ever to put that uniform on. If he does not bring the work ethic and the respect from the undrafted free agents to the superstars on that team that he does, they're not as successful because he completely bought into Bill Belichick. So I like I said, it's 51 Bill, 49 Tom. I truly believe that. And for a long time, I thought it was 75% Brady because of the player that he is and what he meant and everything. And it was 25% Bill because I feel like Brady is another coach on the field, right? He gave them the opportunity, or Bill specifically, to focus on defense only. He knew his offense was under control. He knew that once Josh McDaniels got in there and Brady and him melded minds together, that it was like they had another coach on the field. He didn't have to focus on offense. They were going to score when they needed to score. They might not have put up record numbers like they did the year when they went undefeated until the Super Bowl, but they did enough to win and win and win. Yeah. So it allowed his genius room as well to grow on defense and to scheme the way he schemes because he knew the offensive side was taken care of. He didn't have to worry about major turnovers or crunch time mistakes on offense. Brady wasn't going to let that happen, right? So it literally is 51-49 in my true belief. But this is, probably in the last 2 weeks, I really have changed my stance because I had a hard stance that it was Brady, and Brady without a doubt is the GOAT, right? And that's hard for me to say, being from Ohio, being a Buckeye, admitting that a Michigan guy is the GOAT, but it's the truth. Like, so it was tough for me, but what you're seeing is a popularity contest in the media, uh, on Facebook feeds, on all these Twitter accounts. And listen, Bill is the true architect of all of it, but without Brady, it's not as successful as it was. 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all right. So I'd honestly say I probably missed 10 snaps of New England with Brady there. I missed a little bit of a game. I've probably missed a half of a Patriots game in the last 24-ish years. Like, I watch every snap. I watch preseason. I watch the undrafted free agents. I'm up at 3 o'clock on my phone looking at Mike Reese saying, well, Julian Edelman might make the team as a 7th-round quarterback. And then 6 years later, he's he's one of the better receivers in postseason history. So I feel like if there's anything I'm close to being an expert on, it's them. So I'm like you, when we talked about this last week, that we were going to talk about it this week on the show, I went and deep dived into stats, read what a lot of players say, like the Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi's. You saw Amendola this past week. He was there for a few years. I don't take his judgment as highly as a dude that was there 15. And this is most of what they said. And this is kind of how I felt anyway. It's a 50-50 split. The first 10 years they were together, Tom Brady was not the quarterback he is right now. He was a game manager. They rode that defense, and they played smart football, didn't turn the ball over, ran the ball. Antoine Smith, Kevin Falk, Corey Dillon, there's a name. The guy who has the most rushing yards in one season in Patriots history, which still blows my mind that he's the guy and not Curtis Martin.
Yeah, but he was a monster for Cincinnati before he left. Cincinnati always seems to have great running backs that.
Well, check out these rankings. The rankings, all right? So Brady came in. So they won the Super Bowl in 2001, right? So let's start there. So defensive ranking in 2001. I don't care about yards. This is me personally. If New England ranks 32nd in yards but gives up the fewest points, I don't give a shit how many yards they're giving up. So I'm going to go strictly off points scored because that's what the game's about. 6th, 7th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 9th, 5th. That's the first 10 years.
Yeah, never out of the top 10.
So here's the offense. 25th, 10th, 12th, 14th, 10th, 9th, 1st. First was the Randy Moss. That's when that shit hit. That's the first 10 years, right? I feel like the defense really helped the first 10 years.
100%.
Then Tom Brady turned into Tom motherfucking Brady, right? First, this is point score on offense, by the way. 1st, 8th, 6th, 1st, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 2, 4, 7. Defense, 5, 8, 15, 9, 10, 8, 10, 1, 1, 7, 3.
Yeah, I mean,
it's 50-50, man. I mean,
yeah, the offense.
Tom Brady, I give him more credit for the second decade because the offense tend to carry the team more. The defense wasn't as good, but the first 10 years, the defense was good. Teddy Bruschi, Roosevelt Colvin, Richard Seymour, Ty Law.
You got to look at too. We moved into the passing offense era in that second decade, right? That first decade was still 3 yards in a cloud of dust for the most part. I mean, the passing game was more.
But look how they adapted. And just think of all the change. Like, this is where they both get credit because Bill loses Romeo Crennel on defense, Matt Patricia. Charlie Weiss leaves. Bill O'Brien leaves multiple times. Josh McDaniels is left, and he's been, flirted with going to take another job too. They've lost all these coaches every year. How many do they lose? 3 or 4?
Yeah, their staff gets filled every year. Every year, their staff
just keep promoting and winning. Look, Gerard Mayo interviewed for the Eagles head coaching job this year. He was a linebacker coach last year. Like, as bad as the Belichick tree tends to do, outside of Flores, which is another guy they lost, and he's doing really well so far. They win with who's there. And I like your point about Brady. He's a coach on the field because without him putting in that work and leading by example, you're not going to get, nobody else is going to buy in. But if Bill's not around, Brady's holding you accountable on offense. If you're not busting your ass, he'll say something. That's why he's hard on these young kids. If you're not busting your ass, you're a rookie, second-year player, and you're not all the way in, he's not going to throw you the ball. Ask N'Keal Harry. Ask Jacoby Meyer. Because they weren't throwing him the ball he would not throw them the ball. I watched it in Cincinnati. My dad's like, dude, 15's open. I'm like, he's not throwing it to him. So he throws an interception trying to throw it to Edelman. It's like he doesn't trust him. He trusts Edelman more in triple coverage than he does N'Keal Harry by himself. And that's what he does. He doesn't make mistakes. He's never in the media for doing something stupid. He's Bill Belichick 2.0. And I want to say his quote today, I think 23 hours ago, so yesterday. They asked Brady about his relationship with Bill because a lot's being made, like I said, the memes with Bill throwing the phone and all that stuff. He says, I have a great relationship with Bill. I'm incredibly grateful for what he's meant as my life and a coach. He's everything I could ask for. We still talk. I love my time in New England. I don't know why this is such a big deal. And I honestly believe Bill's going to be at home rooting for Tom to win. I don't think Bill gives a shit. Oh, my God, Tom won a Super Bowl without me. I better win next year or else I'm not the best coach ever again. I don't think Bill cares whether we think he's the best coach or not.
Yeah. So Bill and Tom, it's like the same person just as a quarterback and a head coach.
Yeah.
It's like we all are out here speculating on how they feel. And, every time one of them breaks wind that the other one cares about it. You can't work with somebody as seamlessly as they did for 20 years and not have a good relationship. Now, Brady also understands this is a business. Mm-hmm. And what Bill thought was the best thing for us to do is to move on from Tom. I tried 5 years ago unsuccessfully. Mm-hmm. Bob Kraft shipped Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco. You see how his career has gone with the supposed offensive genius. Now I fully believe Jimmy G comes back to New England. They go right back to their winning ways, and they go right back to doing because Jimmy G fits the mold of what they need.
Knows it. Yeah, he knows
it.
So
listen, they don't care what other people think.
No, and they should
to an extent, right? They're going to say the niceties. Well, Tom is right. Bill doesn't care. He's just going to cut you off. Next question. We're on to next week. But Bill, honestly, New England's not in. Right. If it was New England versus Tampa Bay, of course he doesn't want Tom to win. Right. But short of that, he wants Tom to win because at the end of the day, it builds on Bill's legacy as well. Because Tom is a product of the system that Bill created and the culture that Bill created. Yes, he fit in perfectly, and maybe he had the same core values and the same system, but he wasn't the head coach making all the decisions. So that rubbed off on him, of course, completely. I mean, it's just like Bruce Arians says. Of course, I'll let him coach, right? Like he learned from the greatest.
Things you had to. It's just how everything came together, dude. Like, honestly, they held on to 5 fucking quarterbacks. Why did Bill hold on to 5 quarterbacks? Because he saw something in this Brady kid that he had to hold on to Drew Bledsoe and Rohan. Who the fuck holds on to 5 quarterbacks today? Anybody?
They don't hold on to 4.
He held on to 5. 2 of them happened to get hurt. Rohan Davey. There's a fucking name throw for you. Like, they had Drew Bledsoe, Rohan Davey, I think Scott Chandler. Like, they had some quarterbacks back then, and they held on to this Brady kid, and he made camp. He actually made it as the 4th quarterback. Then he comes up, gets his shot, works his ass off in camp. Bill sees that. That's where Bill's so smart. It's not even smart. It's just his value. You work hard, you play. I don't care if you make $20 million a year or $200,000. You outplay the other, you're going to fucking play. Guess what? Brady outplayed everybody else, won that backup job. Mo Lewis smacked Drew Bledsoe.
That's how Tom is, too. Think about it. Nobody knew who Scotty Miller was. Everybody's talking about Godwin and Mike Evans and the tight ends, right? Nobody had a clue who Scotty Miller was.
Scotty Miller, guy in the NFL.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, if you ask him, he'll tell you he's faster than
Yeah,
Tyreek. I would like to see that in a
I
race.
would too. I would
But
too.
I'm telling you right now, he saw Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, insert every Chris Hogan, every underappreciated short white guy that ever was a receiver for him. And he said, you know what? This guy's got something. He's working his ass off. I'm going to get him the ball.
Yep. And it fit. They knew. So, like when Welker was on his way out, they had Edelman ready to go. When Edelman, he's banged up a lot. Let's get Amendola in here. Hell, they got Gunner or Shins, or I can't even say it. I'll learn it by next year. But Gunner, the guy who made All Pro for punt return, he's the same mold as Edelman. He's ready to go in the slot for when Edelman's done, which could be. I think he'll stay. I don't know. They might cut him because he gives us a lot of cap relief, and he wants to climb up Tom's ass in Tampa next year. But they're always prepared. Bill knew how to run the team. Brady knew how to run the offense. You put them together. If these two aren't together, this 20-year thing never happens. They need to make this happen.
I think the closest thing we're going to see is what's happening in Kansas City
with Reed. Yeah,
but I think honestly, this has a 5-year shelf life at most.
Yeah,
because those contracts, because of Patrick Mahomes, are going to get astronomical. In 2 years, you're not going to have Tyreek, Kelsey, Hardeman, Watkins.
Yeah, they're going to have to keep hitting on these draft picks late.
100%. The offensive line is going to deteriorate. The defense, I mean, they only got really 3 guys, Matthew,
Jones and
Clark, right? They're going to be gone in 2 to 3 years. So we'll see about this whole GOAT argument. The thing to me
that's further down. That's way down the road.
The thing that's crazy to me is like when you look at arguably the 2 GOATs at their positions as far as wide receiver and quarterback. It was Jerry Rice, who was undervalued, said he was slow, but he had incredible work ethic. Tom Brady, 6th round. Nobody thought this guy would be more than a stop in the NFL for 10 minutes, right? Both of them outworked everybody in the NFL and are considered the best at their position of all time, right?
I think it's a fun debate, even though we didn't really debate about it. This is what the sports media is, and this is why this is even a topic. LeBron or Jordan, there's really no reason that we have to have that debate. But guess what? It gets people fired up. We've got fired up about it.
Can't they both equally be great? Can't they both equally be great?
It's a sexy topic. That's what it is. Just like Brady and Belichick. It's 50-50. I've watched it for 20 years. They both respect the hell out of each other. And remember, everybody, Brady might play for a couple more. But whenever Brady goes into the Hall of Fame, I expect Bill to be inducted right next to him or be in the front row clapping his ass off for him because the best quarterback and coach as of right now ever.
The NFL's not
10 years about Mahomes, and we'll see. But
the NFL's not built to have franchises like or dynasties like the New England one, and it wasn't built while they were doing it, and they still figured out ways to plug and play.
Look at Bill now. We'll end on this is my last point. Their roster wasn't good this year.
Ooh.
Bill squeezed 7 and 9 out of it.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he got the most of what he could with that. They were in the playoff hunt most of the year.
I mean,
that's insane. I felt like as watching every game they played this year. Trust me, it hurt. Cam was throwing. I don't know where he was throwing it. Sometimes wide open receivers throwing it in the dirt. They won 7 games and a month out had a chance at that 6th seed. I'm watching ESPN and they're like, be careful of these Patriots. And it's like the fact that they're even saying that when your quarterback has 2 touchdowns and 15 fucking interceptions throwing the ball shows you how great Bill Belichick is. 8 opt-outs. 8
if Cam Newton
defense signed with the fucking Dolphins.
If Cam Newton was 65% of what he used to be, they're probably a playoff team. They're probably 11-5, but
they lost to Seattle by 3 points. Dude, Brian Hoyer. They almost beat Kansas City with Brian Hoyer.
I just don't know what you do with Cam Newton.
Well, you let him leave. That's what they're going to do.
No, I mean anybody. I don't.
You use him as Taysom Hill.
I guess.
Just don't let him throw. Hey, 3rd and 1, stop Cam twice. He can run. He's a big dude. He can pile.
Yeah.
I'd use him as Taysom Hill. All right, let's go through these quickly because I want to spend some time on the Super Bowl. But the head coaching tree of Bill Belichick has not done well, but we now have a brand new crop of head coaches. All the jobs have been filled unless something happens, Andy Reid or Bruce Arians get fired for not winning the Super Bowl. That's pretty unrealistic. So we can assume that the head coaching jobs are filled for this year.
Right.
Eric Bieniemy did not get a job. It's very interesting. The job that I thought he would get was Houston. He didn't. David Culley, I put this first because I think this is the worst hire. The wide receivers coach from Baltimore, he interviewed well. Well, the receivers in Baltimore are absolute garbage, and he really didn't do much to help him, in my opinion. So I don't understand this hire whatsoever. So I'm selling hard on this hire. Houston is in a 5 to 6 year rebuild right now.
I think this is the best hire, and I'll tell you why. Before you lose your mind,
5 years old.
Before you lose your mind, I think this is the best hire. They're not keeping this head coach more than 2 years max.
So he's going to go 2-28.
Absolutely max. So what they're going to do is, and remember, they have a Patriot guy in the front office now. They're going to build up draft picks. They're going to, if they can somehow hold on to
Deshaun
Watson, which I don't think is possible, but somehow if they can hold on to him, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to tell him, we couldn't get equal trade value for you. We're not trading you. Play your contract or sit out. And like I told you, he's too much of a high character. He's not going to sit out. So you're probably going to win 4 games, 5 games on the strength of Deshaun Watson with a bunch of YMCA guys. And you're going to just see how really good he is, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. But why hire Bieniemy at the end of the day when you know he's gone in 2 years? This is not their head coach. People in Houston got to know that. He's got to know that. But it's his chance to cash in, make a little bit of money, get a head coaching job, and retreads happen a lot. So now that he's got head coaching experience, at least he'll be an offensive coordinator next, so he'll make more money for his next job. It was strategic on both parts. I think everybody in their right mind has to know that this guy is not the guy. And nobody wanted to come there without Deshaun. So it might have been the only guy they could hire.
Might be.
Take the job.
That's fair. It's a complete shit show there.
Yeah.
From one shit show to the next. I'm actually buying this one. Robert Saleh, New York Jets. Players love him. Every player that's came out and said something about this guy is like, well, they're 3 years too late. He should have been head coach years ago. The Jets are a lot of draft capital, second pick in the draft. They kind of have a clean slate as far as offense goes. Like, we don't have much. We have a couple good linemen. Let's build this shit up. They have tons of draft capital, tons of money. They could realistically go get Deshaun Watson. This is actually one of his trade preferences for whatever reason. They could trade that second pick, go get Deshaun Watson, and build around him. Like, hey, Deshaun, who do you want? You want Will Fuller? We'll go sign Will Fuller for you. We'll put him out there with Jamison Crowder. And I like their tight end, Herndon. He's been there for a while, but quarterback play has been pretty bad. You can give him Sam Darnold, a couple first-round picks to Houston. There you go.
So from what I hear and everything I've been checking out, he loves Sam Darnold.
That's what they're saying. Bill said he loved Cam Newton, but you know damn well he wanted to strangle the guy when he kept throwing the ball to the wrong team.
Sure, 100% agree. But if you don't go quarterback, right, think about, you can trade out of that number 2 pick.
Well, yeah, if they don't, they're trading out because somebody's going to want to come and grab that.
100%.
Like maybe Detroit. Listen, I'm not taking it. If New England, they're saying that Bill, the reports are from Mike Reese, that Bill is like going to be the most aggressive you've ever seen him going into this draft. If Bill wants something, I don't think there's anything scaring him from trading a few first-round picks away. Hell, the NFL takes them away from us anyway for cheating. So
agreed, but I mean, I don't think the Jets make a deal with New England. It would have to be insane. Like, New England would have to offer 3 first-round picks and your DB.
We're not giving him J.C. Jackson.
No, the other guy.
Gilmore?
Gilmore.
It
had to be 3 first-round picks at Gilmore. So it would have to be insane.
That's a fair point. They're not trading. All right, 4 at Atlanta, I think, makes sense. Since they're keeping Matt Ryan, I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback right there.
No, yeah, you could get Atlanta's pick. Atlanta would probably work.
Or Detroit. They need to have the Patriot tie still there in the front office. So it'd be interesting.
But my thing is what I probably think happens is Detroit probably trades those 2 futures, their first, and maybe Goff to the Jets. And then they have an open competition with Goff and Darnold, and then you see who wins out. And then now they've increased their draft capital. Maybe they can use those 2 futures to come back in the first round or because they need a lot to be successful. So, but listen, I think this is the best hire of the offseason as far as coach-wise.
I do too. Now, I think he'll fit well.
I just think that he's what they thought they were getting in Detroit without all the hoopla and hoo-yah and breaking ankles and biting and, all that crazy ridiculousness that he said in his but I think he's that guy behind closed doors, but he knows how to cage it in.
The team needed a culture change.
Right. And I think what he's going to do on defense is going to turn them around. And then they'll do Patriot style, where they'll have a top 10 defense, get a quarterback that can be a coach on the field or a guy that they can coach up to play to not make mistakes, and then they'll win a lot of 10-7, 13-10 games.
With the Dolphins and Bills already getting better, I don't think I can handle the fucking Jets getting better in that division too.
Well, it's going to be – it's coming. It's probably 3 years from now, but it's coming.
It's coming. We won't spend a lot of time on this one. We've talked about this at nauseum probably 3 times. We're both selling, correct?
100%.
All right. If you guys don't know why.
It's a 2-year rent job.
Yeah. It gives
maybe 3.
It gives me a headache, pun intended, talking about this guy anymore. Sell. Dan Campbell. Man.
I think this is an interesting hire.
I do too. I'm on the fence, dude. Can I just say I push? Yeah.
I like the enthusiasm, right? I like a guy with, because when I was playing in high school, I love the coach like that. But I'm not used to him being my head coach, right?
Here's the quote you're referring to.
Right.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, and when we punch you, this is exactly how it's worded via ESPN.com. And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. When you knock us down, we're going to get up, and one way or the other, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Yeah, listen, I'm used to my linebackers coach being that guy or my defensive line coach, right? Like in high school, college. Those are the guys that were like that, super motivators, whatever. Not my head coach, right?
Yeah, so he was a tight ends coach. Then he was the interim coach for the Dolphins. And then he's been on the Saints for the last 3 years, which is good. He's from the Sean Payton tree. And being a tight ends coach, they got a great tight end in Detroit and T.J. Hawkinson that should really
100%. He should benefit a lot, hopefully.
Jared Goff and him.
Yeah, listen, I'm 50-50 on this guy. I'm a push as well because it's going to either go really good or really bad. Anything's better than Matt Patricia.
Well, I wish Bakley was in the comments because he's a lot higher on this one than a lot of Philadelphia fans I see. But Nick Sirianni, which is from the Colts.
He's Frank Reich, just younger.
Yeah.
That's everything I've heard is that he literally, ate Frank Reich's brain, essentially. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Coach, right?
Yep. Same concepts, same verbiage, same all that. He spews Frank Reich gospel, from what I understand. So, Frank Reich should have probably been the head coach there the first time around instead of Peterson. They probably still would have won the Super Bowl. They probably would still be successful, and hopefully Howie would be gone and they'd be in a better shape. But I think this was a great hire. I was surprised that they got him.
I was too.
Because I think this is a cesspool of a job. I don't care.
He has to think he can fix Carson Wentz, right?
I'm being honest with you straight up. if Philadelphia had called me, nobody, and offered me the job, I'd have turned him down if I had to work for High Roseman. 100%. That guy is a dictator. You've seen how he screwed that organization up. They just are in terrible shape, and I don't see a future for them unless they can get out of this Carson Wentz drama, and I don't think it happens.
Yeah. David Jones said earlier, Philly probably trades Hurts for a second or third. Be interesting. I think they hold on to him and utilize him as a weapon for at least another year. But it's a lot of quarterback movement, like we said earlier. Brandon Staley, the L.A. Chargers. This one kind of caught me off guard.
I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, Drew didn't either.
I really didn't see this coming. Whose tree is he from?
McVay, I think.
I don't know a lot about him.
All right, so he goes from the Rams. He was there for 1 year. He transformed the defense into the number one in the NFL, leading them in points and total yards allowed. He played quarterback in college at Dayton. He's actually known as a pretty smart offensive mind as well, and they really think he'll be able to help Justin Herbert. But he's a defensive specialist with an offensive background playing quarterback in the past. He played for Dayton, which is why he never made it in the NFL, because nobody that plays football for the Dayton Flyers here in Ohio is ever going to make it.
Gets it to the NFL now.
I buy this hire. There's just too much talent. I feel that if whoever gets this job and the roster's actually healthy, if 75% of the roster's healthy, they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
There's
but
a lot of talent on this roster.
You need to stop replacing head coaches and start replacing your training staff, because why is it the curse of the Chargers? Because every year they have more injuries. San Francisco was bit by the same bug this last year. So maybe it's a Bosa thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a Bosa curse. But they're every year. I mean, Jason Verrett. Look at all these guys that were there that had all this talent that left, and now they're healthy, being contributors in other places. I mean, it's scary. I don't understand it. And it was frustrating living in San Diego for as long as I did. You know, everywhere I go, I invest in the local team, except for here in Baltimore, because obviously I'm a Browns fan. So I invest in the Redskins, right? I try and watch Redskins games. When it opens back up, I'll be going to Redskins games, right? So it was tough watching Charger games and like 60% of the rosters on IR or out for this week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And it was great having Joey there for the first couple of years, because I got to see him before he caught the injury bug as well. So it's like all your great players, it's just they can't stay on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you get
maybe he can fix that. Maybe
Derwin James is back. Joey Bosa is like, there's talent. They're going to have a pretty high draft pick this year too, right? And you have your guy at quarterback, which is key.
I think they're 8th. I don't know for sure. Let me.
I like to hire a lot. Team that I know is 4th in the draft, and they're going to keep Matt Ryan. They're the most interesting team in the top 5 for me. They really are in this draft, with Matt Ryan staying. Do they take the Georgia kid Justin Fields?
Chargers got the 13th pick. I forgot they won those last 4 games.
That's still a pretty decent pick for a team that has your quarterback. You
can get a tackle. I mean, they need a tackle.
Line depth. Yeah. You can get it there or trade up and grab some. Arthur Smith. I actually buy this, but I just don't know. Like I just said, what do they do with that 4th pick? Do they take a Fields? And I think Fields needs to sit on the bench for 1 year before he should see the field. I know that's not what people do now, but with Matt Ryan there, run it with him for 1 more year, bridge it to Fields, have him battle it out next year. I think Matt Ryan's cap number goes way down too, as far as dead money, because that's what it is nowadays. You can't really move on. What do you think? Pittsburgh's like, damn it, Ben's back. Well, we have to keep him. He's a bigger dead cap hit if he leaves, so we have no choice. So that dead cap's huge. Look at what it did to New England's salary cap this year. Tom Brady's $24 million, Gronk's $6 million, Antonio Brown's $5 million. It's $40 million roughly in dead cap. It destroys your roster. You can't build a team that way. So it's easier to just hold on. I like the hire. They have a lot of talent on offense. They need a running back, big time.
I'm telling you right now, I think Matt Ryan retires in 2 years.
Well, that would work out if you draft a
I
guy.
don't think
If I was Atlanta, I'm drafting a guy at 4. I'll let him battle Matt Ryan right now.
I
I
think the
assume Matt Ryan would
conversation was
win.
had with the front office, and he said to them, "Look, I want to retire a Falcon. Give me 2 more
He should.
years, and I'll be done."
Yeah,
Right?
he
And
doesn't
so
need. There's no reason to. Julio, I'm with you. Ridley's there. You can
Julio,
definitely.
there's just too much value in him.
Yeah.
And I would like to see him maybe win a Super Bowl. He deserves it. I mean, he for a 3-year span, he was the best, no argument, wide receiver in the game. There's no argument there. And so guys like that, I like this. It's like with
Fitzgerald.
basketball. I think it's a travesty. Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing never got rings, right?
Yeah,
They were
I wanted Fitz on New England back when they were in the middle of their dynasty. The second 10 years, there was always a rumor like, let Fitz win a ring. Give him to Tom. Give him to Bill. Put him in. Like, you know what I mean? It's just that's what Moss tried to do, right?
right.
I mean, he's just a good guy.
1 game short, man. 1 game short.
Yeah, at least he got there. It's better than never. I'm buying this as well. The only one I'm skeptical about is the way you explained the Coley's hire makes sense, but I'm still selling the shit out of it.
I'm selling it, but it makes sense for the franchise and the coach.
Yeah,
he's not going to get another head coaching opportunity. He probably wasn't going to even get a coordinator opportunity. So now he jumps from quarterback's coach to head coach. Then when he gets fired in 2 years, he'll be an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, it's fair. It's the way the NFL goes. Before we go into our main topic, which is the Super Bowl, check out all of the social media platforms you can find the buzz at. You will see it at the bottom of this screen as well throughout the show. You can also follow the Boardroom at the Boardroom on Twitter and the Boardroom on Facebook. But check out where you can find the buzz.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I'd go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
Yep, the whatthebuzz.com is the site. At WTB.com is the place to find us on Twitter, Facebook, or on Instagram. We're all over the place. Make sure to check us out, give us a like, and check out all of our great content. So, my season, I was 159, 93-1, and I was 7-5 in the playoffs. We'll end the show with my Super Bowl pick. We obviously know who it is. Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. So I wanted to break down. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll see how close we get. There's 8. So we'll break down quarterback, running back, weapons, offensive line, defensive line, secondary, special teams, coaching. We'll see who should have the advantage. Me and Alex will give you our take on that. So let's start with the obvious thing. Quarterback. Who has the advantage here?
It's a slight edge to Kansas City. It's not much.
It hurts my soul.
It's not much, and it's not a. The thing is that
it hurts
more than
soul.
any other position, the quarterback is so cerebral, right? I just know that Tom's not going to make the mistake in this big game. Now, Patrick Mahomes last year almost lost to the 49ers and should have if your boy, who you want to come back to New England, would have capitalized on one of those 2 interceptions that he threw.
Yeah.
Where
people forget that.
The whole optics change of what Patrick Mahomes is.
Mm-hmm.
This could be his first chance at a Super Bowl. He could be 0-1 right now. Instead, now there's all these clowns talking about the GOAT after 3 years of playing, Now, granted, he's destroying numbers that people have held for a long time, but he's in an offense by probably the smartest offensive coach in the history of the game with more weapons than anybody's ever had in the history of the game. So don't get me wrong. I'm not a Patrick Mahomes hater. I enjoy watching that man play football. It's frustrating to watch him play against my Browns and tear us up, but I enjoy watching him play because he plays the right way. Whether you like him off the field, whatever, some of his antics, I'm starting to see an air of arrogance from him that I'm not a big fan of. But he's very successful, and they're probably athletically, right?
Yeah.
There probably hasn't been one like him. To me, he's better than Aaron Rodgers already.
I agree. He's already
Period.
won as many Super Bowls too.
But I mean, as far as like physically talented,
I agree with you.
That knife in the throat at the end of the game. He you know, what was everybody always concerned with Rodgers in his early on in his career? He always don't give him the ball at the end because you're going to lose. Well, you can't do that with Patrick Mahomes because he's proven it.
One of my favorite things Tom Brady said today, they were asking about Patrick Mahomes, and he goes, let's not forget, dude's got some skill players around him. And he came into this league with some skill players around him.
Yep.
The comparison I always give people is if he gets drafted by the Bears, is he this good?
I mean, they got a lot of skill position players. The Bears
don't have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
I agree, but they have talent. But they have talent.
Yeah, but not that kind of talent.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. And he doesn't have Andy Reid.
Yeah, like
he's got Nagy coaching him.
Not taking nothing away from the guy, because I agree. It's slightly Mahomes and it breaks my heart. But I'll tell you right now, this game's 24-24. I still want 12 having the ball.
Oh, yeah, listen. I think the Buccaneers win this outright. 3 offensive line now gone.
Dude, Eric Fisher's injury.
Yep.
Catastrophic.
Two more defenders in not a great defense are out with COVID protocol right now and most likely are not playing.
Yeah.
So you have 3 starting offensive linemen, 2 defenders on a pretty average defense at best. You're in trouble. And people are all, the Kansas City.
Luckily, he can run around.
The Buccaneers are the best defense in the playoffs, and it's not even close.
Nope. Devin White against Travis Kelce is going to be very interesting.
Listen, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game.
I do too.
So
I'm going to.
I don't think it's going to be what people think it is.
I'm going to keep a tally. So this is Kansas City 1. They win quarterback. So running back, I give the advantage to Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette's running fantastic right now. And Ronald Jones was a top 6 running back yards wise in the league this year, and he missed 3 or 4 games. That 2-headed monster, I'm trusting more. Edwards-Helaire, great back. Don't want him getting the ball 25 times. He's too small. And Le'Veon Bell missed. He didn't even play last week, right? Even though Darrell Williams is running it better. Darrell Williams ran it well. And their best pass catching back, everybody forgets, opted out this year, who should have won MVP of the Super Bowl last year, Damian Williams, who caught all these screen passes and broke them for huge chunks, is not playing in this game, obviously. I think it's Tampa here.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to give the edge to Tampa, but it's not because I think Edwards-Helaire is the best running back on either roster, hands down.
I agree.
But
the 2-headed monster.
The offensive line, it goes back to the offensive line.
All right, so we'll segue into that too. So these kind of go together. So you give the Bucs advantage at O-line as well?
Absolutely. They got all their starters. How can I give Kansas City with 2 Pro Bowlers and their center out? How can I give them the edge? There's no way. It's Tampa Bay by a mile.
So we're at 2-1 Tampa Bay. You're going first on this one because I've been fighting this one. Wide receivers and tight ends. I could have called it weapons, but I thought that seemed kind of stupid. Who has the best wide receivers and tight? Dude, there's so much talent on both sides of the ball, on both teams' skill positions.
So we're in a debate here with the GOAT at tight end currently. And the future GOAT in Travis Kelce. Because Gronk is the GOAT. There's no argument. There is no metric, stat, anything that you can provide to me that doesn't say that Gronkowski is the GOAT currently, right? There's nothing. Because what he did to matchups, the way he played the game, the catches that he made, everything, Gronk is the GOAT right now, currently.
I would agree with you.
But Travis Kelce is the future GOAT. If Travis Kelce plays another 5 years at the trajectory that he's playing right now and keeps improving, the guy's unguardable. So to me, right there, that ends the debate. The Chiefs get the edge, but
does depth matter? Because let me tell. Can you tell me who the Chiefs' backup tight end is? Because I can't.
But you don't need it. The guy doesn't. Kelce doesn't get hurt.
Well, that's fair, but
he's like
got
a brick
Cameron
wall
Brate.
running in the hands of Randy Moss or Chris Carter. The best hands of a tight end I've ever seen.
I agree. Kelce is better, but then you got Travis Kelce and Ricky Seals-Jones. You got Cameron Brate and Rob Gronkowski. Imagine if O.J. Howard didn't get injured, because they would be even. If O.J. Howard was still healthy, I don't really know how the tight ends, the ball distribution would be going right now. But if they had O.J. Howard still, I'd give it to them. But all right, but we're combining this, so let's go through receiving corps. So Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, Hardeman.
Sammy Watkins says he is pushing. I was just watching NFL Live about 2 hours ago. He is pushing to play this week.
Right. Sammy Watkins. Listen, there's a slight.
And then you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller.
Listen, I give a slight edge at wide receiver to the Buccaneers, but it's slight. It's not. It's like razor thin. But at tight end, the gap is huge between Kelce and
almost feel
what Gronk is now.
I feel like it's a push.
I don't, man. I Travis Kelce is the best receiver. Let's just put it like that. Put it like that. He's the best receiver in this game, hands down. Right? And then you have another top 5 wide receiver, even though he doesn't get credit, in Tyreek Hill. Because of his speed and the routes he runs, he's very effective.
Well, trust me, Tampa remembers. He only put up 250 on him last time, 200 in the first half.
Right, 200 in the first half. So I give not a slight edge. I give the edge to Kansas City because Travis Kelce is the best receiver in the game.
All right. Well, I was being a little puss about it, and I pushed. So we'll give that to Kansas City since you actually gave a definitive answer. So we're 2. We'll go with the front 7.
It's not even close. This should be 2 points for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so I go Tampa as well. Secondary.
This is a little bit closer because So
you have Antonio Hamilton, Shavarius Ward, Rashad Beelan, and I don't want people to forget L'Jarius Sneed on Kansas City. He's only allowed, I think it's something like 1 catch over 20 yards, and the kid's a rookie.
Well, it's not even that, but it's the Honey Badger. I mean, he gives that secondary just a nasty – it's what he's done on every team he's been on. And when he played in the Cardinals, he was
he moves it. Somebody put on Twitter where he lines up. He lines up everywhere. He's played end. He's playing linebacker.
Yep.
He lined up twice at defensive tackle, and that's just weird to me. I feel like it might have been at the end of the game where they were winning by 30 just to be funny. But I go Kansas City based on him. I like Antoine Winfield Jr. He will be back this week. Jordan Whitehead should be back this week. Carlton Davis. Can Carlton Davis pick up the pieces of his broken heart from the first time Tyreek Hill just dusted him for the whole first half? It was one-on-one coverage, and he couldn't handle him, which is no shame. Tyreek Hill's, to me, the fastest guy in the NFL. If it isn't him, it's Hardman. That's just me.
Oh, yeah. Listen, those guys, when they get the ball, are on a different level.
And Sean Murphy Bunting scares the shit out of me because he will jump a route. He goes all or nothing. He reminds me of Asante Samuel. Asante Samuel would always either jump the route and take it to the house, or he'd jump the route, miss, and it's a 30-yard gain or a touchdown. But I go with Kansas City. So
it's a slight edge to Kansas City.
So we're 3-3 going to – God, if we have a push, this is going to be so stupid. Special teams. I go Kansas City. I trust Bucker more.
Agreed.
Punt return.
And I trust Hardeman more, even though he had that terrible fumble.
Well, technically – Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman are both listed as their first returner.
Right.
So I'm taking both of those speed, and a Bucker's a much better kicker than Ryan Suckup, I would say.
Yep.
Tampa's got, and I go Kansas City here. And I also, the coaching, I go Kansas City easily. So that's 5 out of 8 in favor of Kansas City, but you can't, Andy Reid's going to go down as a top 5 coach of all time. And he's got probably 5 more years, did you say, left? At least 5 years, give or take.
Yeah, I think this lasts another 4 to 5 years. But
I think Patrick Mahomes extended his career 3 or 4 more years than he expected him to. I really do.
For sure. I think he was
good. I don't have to do shit except keep this kid upright.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting. So it's time to make the pick. This is the last game. I don't think the NFL is disappointed. This is who they have.
I think they're living their dream, their best life right now.
They are. So I'm going Tampa Bay, 38-34. Tom Brady leads them down, hits Gronk in the end zone with like 10 seconds left. Mahomes throws up a pass. Tyreek comes down with it and gets tackled out of bounds at like the 6 and doesn't make it in as time expires. Brady gets MVP. Both QBs top 400 yards passing. It's an absolute shootout.
I mean, I think I don't want to give my pick, but because I'm going to give it on Sunday, but I think that it's more lopsided than you think it's going to be.
It better not be like the Baltimore Giants Super Bowl of like 2002 when it was like 56-3 or some bullshit like that. I want to see a.
I think it'll be like 42-28, 42-31, somewhere in that range. But I think that one team covers by 10. I really do. And it's not what everybody expects.
Well, we have a couple minutes. Who are your X factors for Tampa Bay in this game?
The defense. I mean, every piece of the defense. I mean, like I said, they're the best defense in the playoffs. I mean, they're putting up some pretty gaudy numbers that people are just, poo-pooing. But listen, I think it's going to be a totally different game. The 3 offensive linemen being hurt is huge.
Shaquille Brown, Shaq Barrett off the edge,
pressure.
Man.
The Browns got pressure, and our defense wasn't playing near as well as Tampa Bay's playing.
Did you feel that Barrett lived in the backfield last week against?
I felt like every play they were calling his name.
And Pierre Paul, you got Vita Vea back now. Sue. I mean, they got some.
No, JPP has resurrected his career. I thought after he blew his hand up like a clown, I thought he was done. When he went to Tampa, I thought it was a mistake for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and work ethic is,
I think that's where JJ will end up next year as well. I think he's going to try to end with a ring, and I think he'd love nothing more. He wants to play with his brother, but Pittsburgh had no fucking money, so.
But from everything he's put out, he'll take league minimum to play there.
Yeah, but I feel if Tampa reaches out like, listen, man, we can pay you, and you can play at Tom, he'll be like, TJC at home. My biggest X factor, there's 2 of them. It's Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. Because if they can play, as you said earlier, Patriot-style football, that means how do you beat – one thing Brady should have learned with Bill is how to beat Patrick Mahomes, because Bill's probably the most successful coach defensively to limit Patrick Mahomes. But how did he do so? He plays single coverage, which this isn't none of Tom's fault. He doesn't coach defense. But you play single coverage, you bracket Tyreek Hill, you put a tall safety on Kelsey to at least match him size-wise, and you see what happens. But what else do? You run the ball with Sonny Michel and James White and Rex Burkhead. You got Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, a 2-headed monster. You give them both the ball 10 to 15 times a game. Fournette's running well. That spin in the Green Bay game was one of the most beautiful spins I've seen in a long time. He has a burst of speed. Ronald Jones, to me, is a more athletic Brandon Jacobs, which I remember him a lot because he was always running over us in the playoffs and the Super Bowl back when he was with the Giants years ago. You run the ball and keep him off the field If Mahomes can't score if he's not on the field, 6, 8-minute drives, milk that clock, run the clock, Tom, down to 3 when you snap the damn ball. Quit snapping it at 18, especially at the end of the game. Like you had Phillip Rivers a few weeks ago. He's snapping the ball so late, I thought they were going to call him for delay of game every single time. And then you have, I forget who it was, but they're snapping the ball with 15 seconds left on the clock. But running the ball is going to be their key to winning. I think both teams are going to run it effectively. I scream shootout. I think Mahomes going to have to run around, but win with this. Who's your biggest X factor on Kansas City, not named Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, I mean, it's Travis Kelce. It's like I said. I mean, you can't. To me, as fast as Tyreek and Hardeman are, Kelsey's the more unguardable guy. Maybe that's why Tyreek had 250 yards against him the first game, because they took away Kelce. And so maybe they're going to – I mean, you're going to have to pick your poison with this team. I don't – even a hobbled Patrick Mahomes without an offensive line, the guy makes plays. You know, I mean, it's well documented. I just – we'll see what
this is the most obvious answer. It's Kansas City's front seven. And I mean Chris Jones, Frank Clark, and Damian Wilson, who's been blitzing a lot. You're going to have to get Tom off his spot. If Tom has all day to sit back there and throw, it's not going to be pretty for Kansas City. And that's going to fall a lot on Tyrone Matthew, like you said earlier. I think they have the better secondary, but they have a lot of young and inexperienced guys back there as well. And Tyrone Matthew has to keep them in the right position to be successful back there. He's going to have to – you line up here. Make sure. I mean, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronk, Cameron Brake, Scotty Miller, Tyler, like skilled players everywhere. You're going to have to make sure they're lined up. You're going to have to get Tom off his spot. If you notice, the first time these two teams played, they pressured Tom a lot in the first half. Kansas City built up a huge lead. Second half, they adjusted. Tampa Bay came pretty damn close to making a comeback on Kansas City, and that's the Buccaneers you're seeing right now are significantly better than that team Kansas City played.
The second half, they're undefeated.
Super Bowl. This is Tom's game. I get the baby goat versus goat. It's a sexy saying. It sells T-shirts. I've already seen them. I get it. It's money. That's what the world's about. This is going to be a really, really good game, I think.
Question for you here.
Listen.
Question for you.
What?
If Tom loses, does this tarnish his legacy at all at 6-4?
No. If Tom goes 6,
I mean, I disagree. I totally agree. I don't think. I think his legacy is set in stone now. I don't think if he goes to 2 more Super Bowls and ends at 6-6, it still doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he went to 12 Super Bowls.
12. Yeah, it's like LeBron. Like even though,
oh my God, I get tired of hearing that.
Yeah, it's like when people are like, "Well, he's lost." It's like he went. The goal is to go. Like I don't hold it against him that he didn't win them all because if
he drug YMCA players to play against Tim Duncan and the Spurs, who were a mini dynasty at the time.
How dare you? How dare you disrespect his father, Delonte West, like that on national airways? But anyway, yeah, I don't like if Tom went 6-10 in the Super Bowl. I'd be like the dude with the 16 foot. Like, what do you want? Like it's for what he's done. I mean, if you go down and you just look, guys, do yourself a favor. Go look at the records of the Super Bowl and tell me one quarterback record he doesn't own.
Well, I mean, it's easy when you're at 10 of them.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
I mean, he's had more opportunities than everybody.
But like, I was watching Skip and Shannon the other day, and they had Michael Vick on, and they were like, "Dude, Shannon, why are you hating on Tom? You know how hard it is to get to a fucking Super Bowl?" And he's like, "Shannon, you know how hard it is. 10 of them? Some people ask Dan Marino."
Yeah, it's insane.
Like,
I don't think we'll ever.
Rivers, what he'd give up. I bet he'd give up 6 of his 30 kids to go to 1.
I don't know about that, but he'd give up something.
Hey, his wife's like the factor. She just pumps him out.
Listen, yeah, I mean, I don't think people truly appreciate
They don't until it's over.
Yeah.
Then when they sit back and they're like, man, Mahomes can't. He was so good those first 2 years, but now Watson and Lawrence and all these guys, it's so hard to get back. It's like, damn, Tom went 10.
And Tom was doing it with Drew Brees
Peyton
and
Manning.
Peyton Manning in their primes. And
All these quarterbacks that people all said were better than him, too.
guys he retired.
Yep. Phillip Rivers is our Dan Marino, man. Poor guy comes in with Peyton and Brady and Roethlisberger. It's like, dude, crazy. Should be a fun game. Next week, me and Alex will obviously talk about the game. We'll go more toward the NBA, which is starting to pick up a little bit. Our Cavs have been driving us insane lately.
Got a big win last night, though. We needed that win, so one game
to that 7 seed.
One game away from 500. That's the goal, is to get above 500. Just get a little north of 500.
We finish 500. We'll get the 6, 7, or 8 seed the way the East looks right now. But we'll definitely talk more about that next week, as well as breaking down the Super Bowl. So before we wrap it up, though, we have a lot more coming for you guys this week at The Buzz. This is our weekly lineup.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look, what's the top dish? Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. Tell them that's what we ready for. Tell them that's what we ready for. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day. It's all hard work, but it's why what happens when we play 9 out of 10 times.
Yes, sir. Whatthebuzz.com. Tons of great live shows, just like this one. Following this at 8 o'clock, so about a half hour from now, That Arena Rock Show, the podcast featuring Nikki Starr, me, and Seabass are breaking down, Alex, Valentine's Day soon, and we don't have we do shows bi-weekly, so our next show won't be till the 16th. So we're going to do top 10 love ballads of the 70s and 80s tonight. So,
oh, buddy,
if there's anything I know a lot about, it's love music and not love itself. So here are the top 10 songs that I cry myself to sleep with every night right after this show. That should be interesting.
I don't know what to say about that, man.
That's the first time I ever saw you speechless. That's why I waited to see if you had any sarcastic comment to say.
I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
But all right, dude, appreciate you joining me. Is there anything you want to say before we tell everybody goodbye?
Hey, man, everybody have a great week. Please tune in on Sunday. It's our last game-winning drive sports box mashup for the Super Bowl. It'll be at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Come check us out before the big game. Everybody have a great week and stay safe. Wear your masks. Apparently, you're supposed to double and triple mask now. I don't know what all that means, but just wear a mask.
Yeah, we'll deal with one. I went to Walmart the other day, and people are at checkouts without one still. So I'll settle for one, let alone trying to get people to wear more than one. But thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said before, go to whatthebuzz.com or at WTB.com, DOTCOM, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find us on YouTube to watch reruns of shows like this. You got Cage My IQ from last night. We got Arena Rock Show. We got tons of wrestling content, stuff for everybody here. Check us out, and me and Alex will see you next